All right. Now, I'm going to do something different today. I'm going to talk about internal mechanisms. Internal mechanisms for lighters, and which ones what I'm going to say, what I'm going to feel, what I'm going to say is what I feel is the advantages and disadvantages to each and every one. Alright, I think I got everything out of here that I'm going to need. Alright. First off, there's a lot of different valves and mechanisms, if you will, and I don't have a lot of lighters. Let me see what I do have here. Right now, I'm probably just going to go over the three that I got here. I think them's just the ones I'm going to go over with right now. And then if anything pops into my head in between time, I'll go ahead and go through those as well. I had a guy ask me about valves earlier, and I never got to thinking about this, but people always say, well, what do you recommend as far as pipe lighters goes? Well, let me say right off the bat that I recommend flint fired lighters, number one. You say, well, why is that? Well, because piezo lighters, I don't know, for lack of a better word I can think of right now, are a little bit more finicky. Okay, a little bit more finicky to deal with, and if you happen to have one and eventually say just for some reason your piezo goes bad, well, there's really no way to light your lighter except to use another lighter, and, no sense of that. But be like, doing what I got here, lighting this lighter with this lighter. Well, anyway, let's go through some valves. Why I got you here. All right. I'm kind of getting rid of getting this let's go with this. Alright, we'll start with these up here I got. These are your you get some of your cheaper lighters. This is what I'm gonna have to zoom in here. Just give me a minute, guys. Alright, might make that a little bit easier for everybody to see. This is what you're probably going to see when it comes to your cheaper lighters. This is going to be, you're going to have, besides this on the bottom, you'll have your filler valve. But I'm going to explain to you how this works. This is all one piece. Alright, this doesn't come apart. But what you're going to have inside of here, I don't know if you can see it, you might be able to, but there's a sponge down in there. Now usually I don't have, I'll get one out here. I got a brass piece right here, I guess. But usually what you got beneath this, you've got a little brass washer right here. Just slips inside there. And when this screws in, it compresses that, it pushes on that brass washer and compresses your sponge. Okay, when you compress your sponge down, guys, that means your flame is going to be smaller. Okay, so as you unloosen the tension on that sponge, the sponge naturally is like say for instance like this sponge here. You know, it squeezes down, but when you let go of it, it comes back. Okay, on its own. Comes back on its own. Okay, so when it does come back, then you get more gas through it. The only problem with this mechanism is that if you leave, say for instance, you let your gas lighter sit, you empty it out or whatever, and you get some moisture in your tank, and you got your flame adjustment screwed down to where you had it, you know. This one's going to be more apt to work when you go back at it, when you go to adjust your flame adjustment screw after a while. And the reason I say that is because this is one solid piece, okay? Now the only way it might not work is if your washer in there, your brass washer gets corrosion on it and doesn't let go of the sponge, and of course then again you don't have no flame adjustment. That's why sometimes you guys will get a lighter and well, you know, I got a flame, but my flame adjustment isn't working. Well, that's because the inside of this mechanism here, for whatever reason, all depending on which one you had, is frozen in that position, okay? That's this one here. Keep this in mind, though. Now, I'm going to use this as an example, but this is not the exact valve you'll have, okay? It's really, but this is what you're going to have in, say, like a IM Corona Pipe Master. Going to have the filler valve right inside with your flame adjustment screw. You guys know what I'm talking about. All right. But anyway, but inside here, now this is the same type of valve as this, but in an IM Corona Pipe Master, what they usually have underneath here is just a little brass. It's just a little brass, you know, piece. It fits in here, okay? And what it does too is it pushes up against the sponge. The reason they put brass or this washer in there is that as you're turning this here, guys, the bottom of this here doesn't, you know, mess up your sponge down in there, okay? Because eventually, screwing this in and out, anything on the bottom here, because this is turning, you just mess up your sponge. So they usually either put a little brass washer in there, like we got in this one, right there, or they put a little brass rod in there, okay? And what the rod does, it pushes down the sponge. It just does the same thing this does, except the rod's a little longer, you know, all depending on how tall your lighter is and whatnot. The rods come in various lengths. Okay, that's what IM Corona does on theirs, okay? Now, I've seen a lot of guys sent their, I've worked on IM Coronas anyway, but anyway, usually that brass rod or something will get stuck in here. If you get a lot of moisture in here, you know, you don't take care of your butane and drain it out. If you get a lot of moisture in here, even though this thing here moves in and out right, your flame adjustment doesn't work. Well, that's going to be because your little brass rod in here because you got moisture in there. It's corroded, inside this part here, and it's not moving. Now, I can't remember which brand it is, but there are some lighter companies. You know what? Uh, I don't know. I might have only seen one. I haven't seen very many. But there are some lighter companies, what they'll do, and it's a good idea. I mean, it's a great idea. What they will do is inside this part, they'll have a little shelf. Okay? There'll be a little shelf. The inside will be a little bit bigger than this. They'll have a little shelf built on the inside, and they'll put a spring in there. Then they'll put this in or the rod in. And what that does is to say, for instance, you let your lighter sit a while. What the spring will do will push the rod back or the little washer back, so your flame adjustment valve works. But I'm going to say, guys, probably 99% of the lighters I've seen, they don't use that spring mechanism. It would make it more reliable, but you know what? Companies make money off of repairs as well. So it's just for lack of a better word, it's just something. It keeps people busy repairing lighters. Okay, if you let your lighter sit. The only thing I can tell you, as far to help keep this from happening to your lighters, I'm just going to say use the best butane you possibly can. And when you store your lighters, okay, you tilt your lighter upside down, all right, just like this, and this is how you evacuate your butane from your lighter. Because liquid, listen, air comes to the top. When your lighter's like this, it's in your, okay, the air comes to the top, okay. Now when it's like this, the butane's on the bottom because the air is in the top of the valve. So what you're doing here in this position, you're evacuating all the butane gas out of your lighter. Now as soon as it gets out, then you want to turn it on the top and you want to evacuate all the rest of the air out of your lighter. You want to do that several times. All right. And you also want to make sure that your flame adjustment valve is adjusted wide open. Don't ever leave it stored in a compressed low flame or no flame position. Don't ever do that, because you take a chance of these items here getting stuck or corroded in here if by chance you get any moisture inside this from, especially guys, if you're storing your lighters in a place that's it's not heated, you don't have a consistent temperature, you got hot and cold, you're going to have moisture build up inside these metal parts, from the cold. That's just the way it is. Then you got the heat. Then you know what that does? It draws moisture. So my idea is to evacuate all the butane and the air out of your tank. Okay, remove any flints. If you got a flint-fired lighter, open your flame adjustment wide open and store it in a temperature controlled, like inside the house somewhere. Not outside in the garage. If you got extreme temperatures like we do here in Iowa, hot and cold winter and summers, don't store it out there. Store it inside the house. Okay? Anyway, and leave your flame adjustment wide open. All right? That's just the nature of the beast that you have with these valves. See, it doesn't matter how. This is the same type of mechanism. It just come out of a lighter that is a smaller lighter. Okay? Same thing. These are all going to be prone to the same problems. You say, well, what's the advantages, to them? Well, the advantages to them that they're simple to manufacture for the lighter manufacturing companies. Like here they just got this here. They don't have to put another filler valve in, so they change. They actually save money doing that. And these will leak after time, but the only thing you can do about that is this rod here will come out of this cap right here. You have to pull these apart and push that out, put another O-ring on that seal if it's leaking inside, or replace the seals on the outside, all depending on where you're leaking. But usually if I rebuild one, I rebuild them all, both. So that's just no brainer. You have to work on work on something. You know, somebody says, well, my lighter, if it's just one problem, say, say you send me a lighter, it's got a leaky filler valve and the seal's dried up. Well, there's no sense not repairing the whole lighter, putting new seals in it, because you send me something, I'm going to charge you for it. Then next thing you know, you're sending me a month later to replace a seal here or here. Rebuild the whole lighter, guys. Get it done. Because with these new seals and you know, materials and composite materials they make stuff out of nowadays, you know, these lighters can go for 20, 30 years, you know, without needing to rebuild. But the only way they're going to make it that long is if you use good butane. You got to use good butane. You say, well, what's a good butane? As far as I'm concerned, to be honest with you, I think a Zycar is probably about the best you can get. It's expensive, but you can get it off of eBay a little bit cheaper. You know, buy 1 or 2 or 3 cans. It's cheaper, and they got a high performance, high altitude butane on there too. So if you guys are out there and you got a lighter like this, let's just face it, guys. You got a lighter like this. You get up there 4,000 or 5,000 feet in the mountains, this probably is not going to work with regular butane. But if you get some Zycar high altitude butane or high performance, the high altitude they got, you just have to look on the can. If you run these type of lighters, you're in high altitude. You want the only thing I'd recommend is the Zycar. That's it. And as far as your lighters goes, the Calibri butane that I usually use, it'll work, okay. But what you're worried about, guys, is the impurities inside causing corrosion on the valves and whatnot. So the moisture, you know, if you wanted to take, you know, most people's not going to do that. So I would just do as I say here previously, and do as I say about evacuating and taking your flint out and whatnot, and you know, bleeding the gas out and bleeding the air out much as you can. Keep it in a temperature controlled environment like indoors. That way you don't have to worry about the sweating going on inside these valve systems, okay? Then building up corrosion, because that's what most of the time what happens. The lighters, you guys buy a used lighter off eBay, it ain't working. Well, I can guarantee you it's either the sponge is plugged up, or you know, the valve system has got corrosion in it, and these mechanisms on the inside, like I told you, like that little rod or that little washer here, they're not moving. All right. Another thing too is this cheap butane. You could use it, guys, but it's like this. You're going to pay for good butane. You don't want to. You're kind of cheap. You don't want to use good butane. Well, that's fine. You don't have to use it, but you're going to spend money later on for me to work on this lighter valve to get it to working. So it's like gasoline in your car. Pay me now or pay me later. You can use the cheap gas, and I use the cheap gas. All right, I do. I don't, you know, the only time I use premium or something like that is like my lawnmowers and chainsaws and stuff like that. Then I'll use a premium gas. But even at the end of the year, I'll go out and buy, like on my chainsaws or my lawnmowers, when I go to store them, I'll go out and buy some of that 50 to 1 premix. It costs about $20-30 a gallon. You know, there's no ethanol in it. That's what I use to store my lawnmowers and my chainsaws in, because I've tried even on my lawnmowers and chainsaws. I got a Honda 4-stroke lawnmower. Well, I drained all the gas out, run it out, and just left it that way. No gas or anything. And the next year I had to take the carburetor apart because I had dirt at the bottom of the carburetor. But when I stored it with that gasoline I'm just telling you about here, I didn't have no problems. Couple, 2 or 3 cranks, and it cranked right over. Then after you run that tank out, it's expensive. Okay, it is. You can go back to using premium, you know, 2-stroke with your premix. But I had my guy at the lawnmower shop tell me that to run that premix, that already made premix, $30 a gallon, he says just run that in my 4-stroke. He says it'll help keep lubrication in the top of it. And I didn't have no problem with it. Didn't foul plug or nothing. So keep that in mind for you you guys out there who need to know about something like that. But anyway, now, as far as I'm concerned, the best valve mechanism, less apt to these problems that I explained with you on the others, is probably going to be out of the SAFA. Okay? The SAFA valve system here. You say, well, why is that? Because I want to show you something here. Okay? Inside, this is your shut-off valve. Well, this valve doesn't have the needle in it, but there's a hole in here, and the sponge goes down here. All right? Now, they don't use a washer or a rod on this. As you can see, let's let you look at it. See what we got here? All they got, it's not on here, but all they got on here is a little O-ring right here in this slot right here. So when this goes inside this valve, it seals from butane coming in here. Because this here, the thread part right beneath the O-ring, all this is inside your fuel tank. All right. Well, there's no way that this is not going to come out, because this here, this is a SAFA lighter. This is actually threaded into the bottom. And this is actually threaded in to the top. I'd have to get I can go ahead and do it. It doesn't matter. Well, it's right here. I think 5.5 or no. 6 might do it. Yeah. See what you got here? This is what you got. I tell you what, too, guys. And here's another thing. I want you to keep this in mind. A lot of times when I'll get guys that sent me I Am Corona Old Boys or whatever, Pipe Masters, whatever, and I don't have it here, but I might have one here. I want to kind of see if I can explain something to you about sponges and why I use what I use. Okay, when it comes to sponges. All right, let's just try this. And I'm going to use a bigger sponge just for the sake of being able to see what I'm talking about, make it easier to see. I want you to look at these sponges. Okay, forget about the size, the diameter. What's the one thing that's different? What's the one thing that's different? The hole. All right? And I'll tell you what, too, if you got an I Am Corona, when I take them out, they got a screen on each side, top and bottom. And you got a little orifice. Let's just say, for instance, I'm gonna get on the inside of your lighter. You got a little orifice. It might be 0.3, 0.4, 0.5 of a millimeter. A little bit bigger than this wire right here. Matter of fact, this wire is probably about 4. .30, 0.38, almost, it's less than half millimeter. I'll tell you what, this is what I gotta have most of the time. This is the main tool when it comes to unplugging them freaking valves that's inside those lighters. You say, well, which valves you talking about? Well, inside lighters, let me say, for instance, I'm gonna get out a valve, a little small valve for a Butane lighter, just so you can see what I'm talking about here. All right, look at that. You see that little bitty hole? I don't know if you can. I can barely see it here. Let me see if I can get this through there. This here is actually bigger than this hole. I've never had a Zama that big, but see how small that hole is? I can't even get this through. But I'm sure if I look in here, I probably got a maybe I've got a Zama with a little bit bigger hole in it. But anyway. And what the problem is them holes get plugged up. All right. And here's another problem. If your sponge gets dirty, remember the little sponge I had? I was telling you about the IM Corona. You know, got the screen on it. Well, if it gets dirty, then that little screen, and think about how small the holes is on them little screens, and you're constantly pushing it, your flame adjustment valve, your sponge up against this. The meshes in the screens get messed up. Your sponge gets plugged up. Next thing you know, you don't have any gas coming out this little orifice at all. Okay, no gas at all. But as long as your flame adjustment screw and everything is working correctly, if I put something like this in there, it's got a hole in there, okay, technically it won't ever get plugged up, because even if the sponge gets plugged up on the outside, when you adjust that flame screw up, it'll start letting the gas through this. So to me, that's why I use these, because you're less apt to have a plugged up lighter. I'm hoping that makes sense, because that's all I use is these. And this is the one here that I actually use in the Safa 21 lighter. Now, as far as I'm concerned, this lighter here is your sponge is down in here. Okay, this lighter here is never going to have a problem with a brass washer or a brass rod getting stuck in between your filler valve screw and your sponge, because there isn't one. As long as your sponge is in good shape. And what I would do, like on this lighter, I would just adjust it out. You know, I would adjust it to where, you know, the head's just past the screw top here a little bit on these lighters. That's how I would do it. To me, this is probably, out of the valve systems that I've shown you, this is probably the most reliable system that you can find for long-term storage. Now what you got in here, you see this little hole right here. Well, inside here, I've had trouble when I've rebuilt some of these brand new lighters. I couldn't get no gas out of that hole right there, because see, that's where gas comes out. Gas will come out, gas will go in, okay. Gas will go in this hole here, all right, and it'll come out this hole here. Remember, there's an O-ring right here, all right. That's sealing gas from coming in this way. So, as long as your O-rings are working good, your sponge isn't clogged up, as far as storage goes, or long-term use before, you know, needing service, I would say that you probably stand a better chance with your siphon not plugging up. And there's an old siphon sponge in that valve there. It's got a hole in it. See? They're smart enough to know, look, they even built a little post on the end of this to go into the valve there. Tell you what, whoever crafted to design these lighters, they designed, in my opinion, probably one of the best lighters that was ever made. You say, well, why do you think that? Look at that. I have yet, if there's somebody out there that sees this, tell me how they molded this. Keep in mind, guys, I cut this in half. I personally cut this in half just so I can get a piece of brass out of the middle of it. See, this has got threads on the end of it. They said, well, why in the world did you do that? Well, I did that so I could, these valves here, let me push that out. Yeah. I did it that way. So I could pull these valves apart. Okay, you say, well, why is that? Well, what I was doing, you know, I got this tool that I actually made for my flamming air lighter. You guys probably remember seeing that. But what I wanted to do is these here tops right here. See that middle piece there? It's pressed down in here. Okay, so I had to get that top out to get inside there to replace the seat that's in there. So what I did was I cut part of this brass section out here, if you will, to screw onto here. All right. Then put behind here. Alright, then what I would do is, actually got it the wrong way. Then what I would do is see how that moves? I'm getting support here. Then what I would do is the little post that's coming out of there, I'd grab on with a pair of pliers, and I could just pop that middle part out, kind of like the same thing I do with the Flamin' Air F12, so that's why I cut this lighter in half. It was I mean, I could have fixed it up. This lighter here, it's still got a little cap movement, but I could have fixed this lighter up and used it. And I'm gonna tell you something, guys. I could have repaired this lighter just the way it is. And it's. I mean, it don't look at it. It brass is silver. The plates wore off. This lighter's. Gee whiz, man. It's seen so much use. But yet, it's this lighter. If you started smoking at 10 years old and you live to be 110, this lighter's still going to be going. You might need a service here and there. It's still going to be going. You know, this is a solid lighter. I don't even know how they manufactured. They had to, how they formed that. You know, I just don't know how they did it. You know, I just don't know how they did it. But because this is basically a two-piece lighter except for this cap, the cap and the body. Don't ask me how they do it. Somebody knows, let me know. Because you can see that, you know, they threaded both ends here. You can see inside how it was made. See the thickness of them walls? I throw this thing at you hard to hit you in the head in the right place and you won't get up. This is a solid design. That's why, you know, I think I got one. I was working on one of these earlier. I got it put over here to the side. Yeah, I was working on it because I had some guys bring in some other lighters, but so I stopped it. But here's what they look like. You know, I mean, shoot, there isn't anything. These are solid lighters. If you want a long-term lighter, I mean, when I talk long-term, I'm talking about you. If you're a pipe smoker and you started when you was 20, you know, your grandkids, great-grandkids, that's the type of lighter that your great-grand you can pass down to your great-grandkids. You know, your child can pass it down to his child pass it down, because these are just built like tanks. Never seen anything like it in my life. This one actually, this is a Safa lighter, but this one was actually, Safa, look here, so good, John Sterling. This one was manufactured and stenciled for John Sterling. I don't know if you guys ever seen a lighter, but you can get a dual flame pipe lighter on eBay, Calibri. Okay, say it's $100. Well, if it's got John Sterling on it, same condition, they're probably going to get $50 to $100 more. But that's just because Calibri was making lighters. John Sterling was getting stenciled lighters. Hey, they get a hold of a company, make me, you know, they put my name on it. You know, I worked at a manufacturing plant, and we did that for other businesses. What we, instead of our sticker, we put their sticker on it. Okay, same product. Okay, lighter manufacturer's been doing that forever and a day, so it's no different. It's no different. So everybody does it. So, but anyway, I have had these. Like I was saying earlier, I couldn't get no fuel through them, and the reason is these inside this here tube here, there's a little plastic tube. This is plastic, and this inside it is the wick, and it was compressed. It was really thick. So all I did to get it to work is I just picked some of that wick out of there until I got some gas flow and get through there. And the only way you can get to that, you got to pull this cap off here. I mean, it's pressed on. Be careful when you're doing it. It's pressed on, you know. I mean, this doesn't turn or nothing, so be careful fixing that. Don't be pliers going like this, you know. You just want to grab something, pull it out straight, so you can repair that correctly. So when it comes to the best thing is, like I said, just do as I said on here and use a premium butane, and And don't, you know, don't be just using that cheap freaking Ronson junk. That stuff don't even smell right, that Ronson stuff. But I think that'll pretty much get you by until, you know, until you need a service. Listen, guys, there's guys that had their lighters out, you know, take care of them, use good butane. And I've had, they said they had theirs for over 20 years and no service needed. Well, it just goes to show you that it just all depends on how you take care of your lighter. Like, look at here. This is a parts lighter. I mean, it came in, it was junk. Look at this. I sold, if you get on my, okay, if you guys are watching this, you seen that video I just posted, said, here's what a $200 lighter looks like. Well, this buddy was the $200 lighter. You can see it has the same pattern. See it? This one here was silver plated. But look at it. It's all wore down to the brass. The cap right here has got it's got some dings in it, and it moves a little bit right here, but look at that. That still feels good. It doesn't hit the side still. This was a lighter that somebody had for 50-some years. It's one thing I like about these lighters too. That's how you replace your flint. All right? And when you open that up like that, shuts it off. When you close that flint chamber, look at there, turns gas back on. It's a really neat mechanism. I mean, that's easy. How easy can it be? Look at that. How easy can it be to change a flint on something like this? There you go. This one here I put together. You see, this can come out of a gold lighter. All right. But then I got a. But anyway, I don't even have a valve in here because the valves I got are too big to go in here. See, this was like this when I got it. It was actually in parts. Somebody's trying to, I don't know what, but I got all the stuff I got coming from a friend in Italy. All these parts. But I sold a lighter like this. It was silver plated and the brass was showing through on the edges. I sold it to a guy. He's wanting a pipe lighter, but he didn't want to spend the money. I said, well, listen, I got this one here. But I said, $70 shipped. And I said, and I sent it to him. I said, if you don't like it, you'll send it back. I said, you don't even have to pay me for it. I said, just pay me, and when you get it, if you like it. I said, pay me for it if you don't like it. It's just going to cost you $6 shipping to ship it back to me, and we'll go from there. But he got it, and he says, perfect. He loved it. He just loved it. So, and this lighter is, you can see it got a little ding right there, you know. The cap's not flush right here, and it's a little over on this side, but yet that cap works perfect. It's not, see, not dinging around or moving side to side. There's just a little play in there, but these are built so well that it's just, this lighter is, to me, I'd say, you know, if you guys know anything about rifles, you know, they always say that the Kalashnikov, the AK-47, so to speak, was probably one of the most durable rifles out there. You know what I mean? Well, if there was a lighter, it was an AK-47. I would say this is the one it'd be it. I mean, it's just, you know, he just used it. That's what that guy did on that. That guy just used this. Think about how much time it'd take, how many years it'd take you know, to wear the plating off this, and not only that, but the knurling gone, almost gone too. But you get some people who just get things too, and they just might rub on it, you know. You know, some people got habits. We all got habits. But you know, because this part here is a little bit better on the sides than it is on the front or the back. Bottom's got more plating on, the top's got more plating on it. So that's probably from pocket wear. That could be from just putting it in now, your little coin pocket in your jeans or whatever. But I'll tell you what though, this is a lighter that right here, that, you know, if a guy bought something like this, you don't worry about if you drop it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you don't worry about if you drop it. I mean, you're not going to ding it up. You might put a ding in the brass, but you might put a ding in your cap, you know, or whatever. But you're not going to hurt the lighter. You know, you're just not going to hurt it. I bet you I could take this freaking lighter here and I go outside and I'd probably just give it a good wing, like I'm skipping a rock, you know, give it a good wing on the concrete, and yeah, it'd scratch it all up, but I just about guarantee you that your cap might come over, and I don't know, all depending, but if you drop it, you know, and it falls on the floor like this, or you're on the concrete or whatever like this, you're going to be fine. Now, if it falls on this edge here, these corners, you're still going to get a ding in it, but you're still going to be fine. You know, this is one of the most well-built, durable lighters brand that I have ever seen. I don't like posting videos like this about lighters like that, because you guys go out there and freaking buy them all up and they go sky high, you know, and I can't even freaking get one. Now I went to my friend in Italy and I asked him if he could just find me one, because I bought all the new ones he had. This is the last one I got right here out of probably 10 lighters. This has got a brushed metal finish, you can see on this. Not the most attractive lighter, but I'm going to tell you what, this lighter here, you put that up against any other lighter. I've got like this lighter here. Look at this. Now this is a quality lighter here, and I didn't know this, but this is a Colibri dual flame lighter body. All right. Now I wanted to repair this, and I couldn't repair it because it had a leak. I thought, what in the world's going on? Well, you can see it right down here. There's a little crack. Apparently there's this bottom solders onto this. Okay, so this was non-repairable. I mean, I could get in there and probably inside. There's a guy on YouTube out of Italy who repairs lighters. He gets in there with like certain lighters that happens to, and he gets some epoxy in there and epoxies them. I'm not gonna do that. I mean, that's fine. I mean, but this lighter, this actually got a nice body to it, and I just don't want to get in there and do something like that, and the next thing you know, somebody sends it back because it's leaking again. I don't want to go through that. You know, it's leaking because a seal or something I didn't hold up, or I for whatever reason it's just leaking, and I'll take care of that. But that's soldering and gluing and stuff. I just don't think putting something together with glue is a very good situation, you know. And even the DuPont lighters, if you ever get on YouTube and look, the DuPont lighters, they actually, when they put them together, they put a roll of solder inside the tank, because them bodies will go inside of heat, and all that solder melts on the inside and gets, like, you know, where the pieces are put together, and it solders them together. Well, there's no soldering on this. It's just all one piece. Has to be a molding of some sort, but it's a fascinating. It's a fascinating thing, you know. And that was done 50 years ago. Anyway, this in here is just, I just keep this thing around. It's just, I'll probably get maybe converted pipe lighter or something that I'll put a valve in. If I leave it like that though, I've got a wide flame, you know. That's a lot of gas coming out of there. Let me turn that down. I usually don't use my prongs for doing that. But this in here turns so easy. And I ain't gonna worry about scratching it up either, because it's already got some scratches on it. But this kind of got a little wide flame just the way it is. This lighter here, yeah, you get that now. If you're a young guy, lived another 50 years, this thing will still be going. That's how much faith I got in that build with this lighter here. All right, guys, that's pretty much all the babbling I'm going to do today. But, you know, also, too, you guys probably noticed my new rubber mat here, didn't you? Well, I got this because I was tired of stuff rolling off the freaking floor. You know, because this has got a little lip on it on the inside here. And not only that, but look at that. Heat resistant, soldering iron resistant, right here. 1, 2, 3 points in it right here. 1, 2, 3. It's I don't think these are, yeah. I got magnets in them. Got magnets there, and I got a magnet here. So, and I got places to put my tools up here. Like if I'm using these, that's what I like about it too. If I'm using these screwdrivers, I can stick them up in there. And you know, I got little screws. They even got numbers right here. I can put, you know, this is more or less like watch or cell phone repair. Watch repair, this come in handy because these are all numbered, you know, 1, 2. Then you go backward, put them in the same way. Little parts places here. This is just great. This, I should have done this years ago. And this just got a good texture to it. I mean, it's like this here, this lighter. It don't slide. I mean, it sticks. It's a good silicone type rubber. I don't know. It's got a little measurement down here at the bottom. You can't see it, but it's in centimeters and inches. So that's pretty. That cost me about 40 bucks, guys. But I'm gonna tell you something. This is the first time I've used it in a video is today, but I'm glad I got it. It's gonna save you guys. If I had $1 for every time I got on my knees on the floor with a flashlight to dig something up, I bet you man, I hate to think how much money it'd be. But anyway, guys, that's it out there. Hope you guys get something out of this.